Prepare to have your understanding of angels dramatically transformed. Dispel the visions of serene beings with harps and white wings. We are about to journey into a realm where cherubs bear 4 faces, and fiery seraphim stand guard at the throne of God. These revelations will not just surprise you, they will reveal truths scarcely known. What if I told you that angels are more involved in celestial battles and divine protection than in playing soothing melodies on clouds? Brace yourself, for we are about to uncover secrets that will challenge everything you have ever believed about the heavenly realm, promising to alter your perception of the spiritual world forever. Are you ready for the truth? Most people have a misconceived perception of celestial beings, at least according to the Bible. Today, we are going to delve into the true nature of these beings as accurately depicted in the scriptures. But first, let's examine how the majority erroneously visualize these heavenly entities. When most people think of celestial beings, the image that comes to mind is of angels depicted as humanoid figures with large feathered wings, often displaying halos and sometimes carrying harps or trumpets. These images, deeply rooted in our cultural and religious fabric, typically present angels as human-like beings adorned with broad feathered wings and radiant halos, and occasionally with musical instruments like harps and trumpets. This portrayal has been significantly influenced by Renaissance art, literature, and modern popular culture. Throughout history, art and literature have played crucial roles in shaping our understanding and perception of these celestial entities. From the paintings of Raphael and Botticelli to the verses of John Milton's Paradise Lost, angels have been humanized, making them both accessible and supernatural. This anthropomorphism reflects humanity's desire to comprehend the divine, to bridge the vast chasm between the mortal and the eternal. Moreover, movies, TV shows, and even Christmas imagery, especially in the West, have reinforced this representation, often diluting the profound spiritual significance of these beings into mere decorative ideas or fantastical characters. Yet, celestial beings are not gentle, cherubic creatures spending their days playing harps. They are beings of unimaginable power. They do not resemble Cupid. They are true spiritual entities with real power. The fact that these celestial beings can stand in the presence of the Lord and behold His face reveals their immense power. In our mortal bodies, tainted by sin, we cannot stand before the Lord and see His face, for God's word tells us that no man has seen God and lived. Yet angels can see the Lord. Listen to how Angel Gabriel introduces himself in Luke 1:19. The angel answered, "I am Gabriel, who stands in the presence of God. I have been sent to speak to you and to bring you this good news." Gabriel stands in the very presence of the Lord Himself. If we were to see the Lord's face in all His holiness and glory, our spirit would leave our body faster than we could blink. Angels are powerful beings. A single angel killed 185,000 Assyrian soldiers in one night. An angel shut the lions' mouths. An angel rolled away the stone from Jesus' tomb. An angel guided Philip to the Ethiopian eunuch for a divine appointment. An angel freed Peter from Herod's prison. These benevolent beings are sent by God as messengers, protectors, and guides for humanity. However, among these celestial entities, cherubim stand out from traditional angels in both function and appearance. They are not ordinary angels, nor even archangels. They are unique, a type of their own among celestial beings, distinct from solitary angels. The Bible provides several detailed descriptions of cherubim that starkly contrast with the common perception of angels. The most vivid description of cherubim is in the book of Ezekiel. In Ezekiel 1:5-11, it says, "From the midst of the storm came 4 living creatures. They looked like humans, but each had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their legs were straight, and the soles of their feet were like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished bronze. Under their wings, on their 4 sides, they had human hands. These 4 creatures had their faces and their wings arranged in such a way. Their wings touched one another. They did not turn when they moved. Each one went straight forward. As for the appearance of their faces, Each had the face of a man in front. All four had the face of a lion on the right side, the face of an ox on the left side, and all four had the face of an eagle. In Ezekiel 10:20-22, the prophet adds, "These were the living creatures I had seen beneath the God of Israel by the river Chebar, and I knew they were cherubim. Each had 4 faces and each 4 wings, and underneath their wings was the likeness of human hands. As for the likeness of their faces, they were the same faces whose appearance I had seen by the river Chebar. Each one moved straight ahead." These passages show us that cherubim are vastly different from the conventional image of angels. They are not gentle beings with feathered wings and halos, but rather powerful, multifaceted creatures with multiple faces and wings. This representation challenges our understanding and compels us to reflect on the diversity and power of the heavenly realm. In Ezekiel's vision, the cherubim are described as having multiple faces, that of a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle. Here, in the presence of this celestial entity, we encounter one of the most fascinating aspects of the creature. It possesses the faces of earthly creatures. We know that cherubim were created before the world, as in the book of Job, we see that the sons of God, who were angels, rejoiced when God created the earth. Job 38:6-7 states, "On what were its bases sunk, or who laid its cornerstone when the morning stars sang together? And all the sons of God shouted for joy." It's clear to us that angels precede the creation of the earth, and therefore also precede the creation of all living creatures on earth. Simply put, this means they precede the creatures they resemble. Isn't that intriguing? After studying these scriptures, one cannot see men, lions, oxen, and eagles in the same way again. This point may not surprise everyone, but when I understood that this celestial creature has these 4 faces and yet predates all these 4 creatures, I was utterly amazed. Thus, we can agree that cherubim are unique creatures. They bear the appearance of earthly creatures that had not yet been created when the cherubim themselves were. That is why I describe these wonderful celestial creatures as the most mysterious, because they clearly have a connection to earth. Yet the Bible does not reveal a vast amount of information about them. Imagine the vision of this extraordinary creature before your eyes, the cherubim, as described in the passages of Ezekiel, with 4 faces looking at you: the human, the lion, the ox, and the eagle, all unified in a single being. Its form is human-like yet celestial, adorned with 4 wings that seem to carry it effortlessly through the heavens. Straight legs and feet like polished bronze reveal a majestic presence, while under those mighty wings, human hands are revealed, merging the divine and terrestrial in an unimaginable way. Can you imagine the mix of emotions flooding you as you see this celestial being? Fear and awe intertwine as you find yourself at once terrified and moved by its presence. The realization of being before a creature of such divine significance humbles your soul, for the cherubim are not ordinary beings. They guard the very presence of the Almighty. Cherubim are a specific type of celestial beings mentioned in the Bible, often associated with angels and considered a high order of angels. However, it's important to note that cherubim and angels are not necessarily interchangeable terms, as not all angels are described as cherubim in the Bible. Cherubim are tasked with guarding the presence of God and serving in celestial worship, being closely associated with the throne of God. On the other hand, angels, in a more general sense, refer to spiritual beings that serve as God's messengers and carry out various tasks according to God's will. The term angel is more broadly used to describe different ranks and functions of celestial beings, including messengers, protectors, and guides. Some angels are named in the Bible, like Michael and Gabriel, and have specific roles in certain biblical events. So while cherubim can be considered a specific type of angel, not all angels are necessarily cherubim. Cherubim have unique characteristics and roles that distinguish them from other angelic beings mentioned in the Bible. In the spiritual realm, there are many celestial beings that we cannot fully comprehend. We know some of them, like the Seraphim, burning creatures that stand in the presence of God and shine with holiness. There are also archangels, powerful messengers of God who bring important messages to us. In the book of Revelation, we see majestic horses in the sky, with one carrying a triumphant rider on a white horse, representing victory and justice. Can you imagine how incredible that vision would be? These celestial beings are incredibly beautiful and powerful. But let's reflect for a moment. While the Bible tells us about some celestial beings, there is so much we don't know about the spiritual realm. Have you ever wondered about other celestial beings that the Bible doesn't mention? Can you imagine the incredible things we will see in heaven? Isaiah 6-17 gives us a vision of divine majesty and holiness, where seraphim incessantly worship, proclaiming God's holiness, a testament to His glory that fills the whole earth. Isaiah's vision and his interaction with a seraphim, who purifies his lips with a live coal, reveals the depth of divine mercy and the transformation that comes from encountering the sacred. The nature and essence of seraphim offer us a profound glimpse into the heavenly realm, revealing aspects of God's character and His interaction with humanity. The term seraphim literally translates to burning or blazing, not only representing their radiant appearance, but also symbolizing the passion and intensity of their worship. This fervent zeal for worship is the manifestation of the pure heart's response to the unmatched holiness and majesty of the Almighty. The very fabric of creation, from the galaxies that stretch across the vastness of the cosmos to the intricate design of the human soul, emanates from the profound brilliance of our Creator. It is only fitting, then, that every angel, every celestial being, every corner of the universe, every atom and molecule, resounds with songs of worship to the one who spoke them into existence. God, in His unmatched majesty, wonder, and glory, did not merely create the world. He breathed life, purpose, and wonder into it. Such a magnificent Creator demands our deepest reverence and unceasing worship. And here we see that, in the heavenly assembly, countless beings recognize and respond to this divine mandate. God deserves to be worshipped. He is worthy of worship. Among this celestial throng of beings we have never seen, the seraphim stand out not just as spectators, but as active participants in this eternal symphony of praise. These luminous beings, with their burning essence, exemplify fervent and pure worship. Their very name, denoting fiery passion, signals the intensity of their devotion. It's as though they were forged from the very flames of worship, embodying a love so deep and pure, it can only be described as burning. If these magnificent creatures, so close to the throne of God, are consumed with the desire to worship Him, how much more should we, beneficiaries of His grace and love, be drawn to praise and honor the great Creator? In the presence of such inspiring devotion, may our hearts be ignited with the same burning passion to worship and exalt the Lord of all creation. In Isaiah's encounter, a striking feature of these beings is their 6 wings. 2 wings were used to cover their faces, an action not born out of fear, but of deep reverence and respect in the presence of the Holy One. Even the holiest of angels shielded their faces, indicating an acknowledgement of God's unparalleled glory. Another pair of wings was employed to cover their feet. In biblical times, feet were often considered the most contaminated part of the body, as they were continuously in contact with the ground and the dust of the earth. The act of the seraphim covering their feet can be seen as a symbolic gesture of humility, denoting the desire to present nothing tainted before the Lord. The remaining wings served a functional purpose, flight. This denotes not just the ability to move, but readiness. The seraphim are always prepared, always waiting on God, ready to respond immediately to His commands or proclamations. Their constant flight around the throne is a testimony to their vigilant and unceasing service. But it's not just their form and function that capture attention. The vocal exclamation of the seraphim, "Holy, holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty." The whole earth is full of His glory, speaks volumes about their primary mission. This is not a casual statement, but a profound and resonant acknowledgement of a fundamental truth. The threefold repetition of the word holy is not merely a literary device. In Hebrew culture, repetition emphasized utmost significance. By declaring God's holiness 3 times, the seraphim magnified God's supreme holiness, a holiness unmatched and unparalleled. Furthermore, the impact of their proclamation is tangibly felt, with the very foundations of the temple shaking. This reaction is not just a physical manifestation, but a spiritual one. It reminds us that true worship, born out of a genuine acknowledgement of the nature of God, has the power to move not just hearts, but the very fabric of our surroundings. The temple filling with smoke in response to their voices underscores again the weight of God's glory. Throughout Scripture, smoke often represents the overwhelming presence of God, a powerful reminder of His majesty and holiness that permeates everything. Just as it was with the Israelites at Mount Sinai, here too the smoke symbolizes a palpable divine presence, a testimony of God's active interaction with His creation. Continuous worship is the essence of the seraphim. Their entire existence revolves around recognizing, revering, and proclaiming the majesty of God. Through them, we gain insight into the heart of true worship. It's not about rituals or routines, but rather a genuine and passionate response to the God of all creation. As we delve deeper into the attributes and roles of the seraphim, we are led to reflect on our own responses to God. The holiness of God and the seraphim's primary purpose of worshiping and declaring the greatness of God prompt us to question, what can we as humans learn from these celestial beings about our own relationship with the Creator? A fundamental lesson the seraphim teach us is the essence of true worship. Their worship isn't a periodic activity. It's easy to confine worship to specific moments, places, or events. However, observing the seraphim, we are reminded that worshiping is not just an act, but an attitude of the heart, a continuous acknowledgement of God's sovereignty in every moment of our existence. Furthermore, the humility of the seraphim, despite their grandeur and closeness to God, challenges our human tendencies. We often seek recognition or desire to elevate our status, but these celestial beings, in all their splendor, exemplify the ultimate humility before divine majesty. They serve as a reminder that true greatness lies in recognizing our place before God and serving Him with a humble heart. The act of purification by the seraphim, as seen in Isaiah's experience, is also a profound reflection of God's grace. Just as a seraph purified Isaiah's lips to prepare him for prophetic ministry, God, in His mercy, purifies and prepares us for our unique callings. The seraphim become instruments of God's sanctifying power, demonstrating that when God calls, He also equips and refines. The fiery appearance of the seraphim, resonating with their name, also carries symbolic overtones for the faithful. Fire in the Bible often represents purification and transformation. For believers, this serves as an allegory of the transformative power of God's presence in our lives. As we draw closer to God, we embark on a process of sanctification, during which the impurities of our lives are cleansed, shaping us increasingly into the likeness of Christ. A striking analogy we can draw is with the seraphim's ceaseless proclamation of God's holiness. Holiness, by its very nature, stands apart from the common or ordinary. When something is described as holy, it implies an intrinsic uniqueness, a distinction that elevates it above everything else. The seraphim, by crying, "Holy, holy, holy," are not just recognizing God's uniqueness, but are emphasizing a divine attribute that permeates His entire being and all His actions, His transcendental holiness. The Bible highlights God's love, mercy, justice, among other attributes, but none can be fully understood or appreciated without first grasping God's holiness. His love is a holy love, not a fickle or changeable affection. His justice is rooted in His holiness, ensuring it is never arbitrary, but always right and pure. Every facet of God's character, every action He undertakes, is deeply intertwined with His holiness. This is the foundation upon which all other attributes rest. The seraphim, who are in the immediate presence of God, understand this deeply. Their declaration is a stark reminder that our perception of God must always start with His holiness. It shapes how we approach Him, how we worship Him, and how we live in response to Him. The Bible tells us, "Be holy, for I am holy," 1 Peter 1:16. This call is not just for moral purity, but to dedicate ourselves to God's purposes, aligning our lives with His character and seeking to reflect His image in the world. God's holiness serves as a beacon that illuminates the darkness of our world and the shadows within our own hearts. It reveals areas in our lives that are inconsistent with His character, driving us toward repentance and transformation. Furthermore, as we internalize the importance of God's holiness, it changes how we view sin. Sin is not just the breaking of a rule. It's an affront to the very nature of a holy God. As the Seraphim demonstrate, understanding God's holiness produces a profound sense of reverence and awe. It redefines our understanding of worship, which becomes less about routine and more about a sincere response to a God whose essence is incomparable and unmatched. This leads us from passive observance to active worship, aligning our hearts and minds with the rhythms of heaven. To know God is to know His holiness. As we draw closer to the Scriptures, pray, partake in worship, and live out our day-to-day lives, may the cry of the seraphim echo in our souls, drawing us nearer to the heart of a holy God and reshaping our lives in the light of His profound holiness. As believers, we are called to be witnesses of God's love and grace. Just as the seraphim incessantly declare God's glory in the heavenly realms, we are tasked with spreading the good news of God's love and salvation on earth. Ultimately, the unwavering focus of the seraphim on God underlines the importance of setting our sights on the eternal, rather than the temporal. In a world full of distractions, the seraphim exemplify what it means to have a singular focus on God. They do not waver, get distracted, nor lose sight of their purpose. This constancy serves as inspiration for the faithful to remain steadfast in faith, unshakable in the face of the world's challenges and distractions. In summary, while the seraphim occupy a unique place, they offer us a valuable perspective on the nature of God and how we should relate to Him. May we be inspired by their incessant worship and deep understanding of God's holiness, so that our lives reflect this eternal truth and draw us ever closer to the divine heart. As we draw nearer to Him, we undergo a process of sanctification where the impurities of our lives are cleansed, shaping us increasingly into the likeness of Christ. Another striking analogy can be seen in the seraphim's ceaseless proclamation of God's holiness. Holiness, by its very nature, stands apart from the common or ordinary. When something is described as holy, it carries with it a uniqueness, a distinction that elevates it above all else. The seraphim, with their fervent cry of "Holy, holy, holy, holy," are not merely acknowledging God's uniqueness, but are emphasizing a divine attribute that permeates everything He is and does, His transcendental holiness. The Bible highlights God's love, His mercy, justice, and many other attributes, but none of these can be truly understood or appreciated without first grasping God's holiness. His love is a holy love, not a fickle or changeable affection. His justice is rooted in His holiness, ensuring it is never arbitrary, but always right and pure. Every facet of God's character, every action He undertakes, is deeply intertwined with His holiness. This is the foundation upon which all other attributes stand. The seraphim, those in the immediate presence of God, understand this profoundly. Their declaration is a stark reminder that our perception of God must always begin with His holiness. It shapes how we approach Him, how we worship Him, and how we live in response to Him. The Bible tells us, "Be holy, for I am holy," was Peter 1:16. This call is not just for moral purity, but to set ourselves apart for God's purposes, aligning our lives with His character and seeking to reflect His image in the world. The holiness of God serves as a beacon, lighting up the darkness of our world and the shadows within our own hearts. It reveals the areas in our lives that are inconsistent with His character, driving us towards repentance and transformation. Moreover, when we internalize the significance of God's holiness, it influences how we view sin. Sin is not merely the breaking of a rule. It's an affront to the very nature of a holy God. And as the seraphim demonstrate, understanding God's holiness produces a profound sense of awe and reverence. This redefines our understanding of worship. It becomes less about routine and more about a heartfelt response to a God whose essence is unparalleled and unmatched. Truly knowing God is to know Him in His holiness. As we delve into the Scriptures, pray, engage in worship, and live out our day-to-day, may the cry of the seraphim echo in our souls, drawing us closer to the heart of a holy God and reshaping our lives in the light of His profound holiness. As believers, we are called to be witnesses of God's love and grace, just as the seraphim ceaselessly declare God's glory in the heavenly realms. We are tasked with the mission of spreading the good news of God's love and salvation on earth. Finally, the unwavering focus of the seraphim on God underscores the importance of setting our sights on the eternal rather than the temporal. In a world full of distractions, the seraphim exemplify what it means to have a singular focus on God. They do not waver, get distracted, or lose sight of their purpose. This steadfastness serves as an inspiration for believers to remain steadfast in faith, unshakable in the face of the world's challenges and distractions. Although the seraphim are celestial beings, far removed from our daily experience, their existence and role in the spiritual realm offer valuable lessons for us. Their ceaseless worship and proclamation of God's holiness remind us that we should seek a deeper understanding and a closer relationship with the Almighty. They show us the value of unwavering devotion, profound humility, and the vital role we play as messengers of God's sanctifying grace. Now, speaking of angels, these fascinating creatures are a fundamental part of the spiritual realm, playing a significant role both in the Bible and in Christian faith. As we explore the universe of angels, we gain a deeper understanding of the divine plan for our lives and come to appreciate the divine beings who operate behind the scenes, protecting and guiding us. However, there is often some confusion about angels, especially when ancient Jewish texts, like the Book of Enoch, mix with the information found in the Bible. To clarify, let's highlight some angels named both in the Book of Enoch and in the Bible, and then focus specifically on the angels mentioned within the biblical canon. Among the most renowned angels, we have Michael, known in both Jewish and Christian traditions as a warrior protector, and Gabriel, described as one of the archangels tasked with delivering divine messages to humans. Raphael, associated with healing, and Uriel, linked to wisdom and guidance, are other examples of archangels whose stories inspire us and teach about the multifaceted nature of God. In the biblical canon, only 4 angels are named: Michael, the archangel; Gabriel, God's messenger; Lucifer, the fallen one; and Abaddon, also known as Apollyon, the destroyer. Gabriel and Michael are particularly highlighted for their significant roles in the spiritual realm. Gabriel is an imposing and glorious figure, mentioned in both the Old and New Testaments, and is considered one of the most prominent angels. His presence is a reminder of God's power and majesty, operating through heavenly messengers to fulfill His divine plan. In some Christian circles, Gabriel is seen as an archangel, though the Bible never explicitly mentions him in this way. The first time Gabriel appears in the Bible is in the book of Daniel in the Old Testament. At that time, Daniel was living in Babylon, where the Jews were exiled. In the 8th chapter of Daniel, he has a vision of a ram with 2 horns and a goat with a single horn, but doesn't understand the vision's meaning and prays for an explanation. In response to Daniel's prayer, Gabriel appears and provides him with the interpretation of the vision. Gabriel explains that the ram with 2 horns represents the kings of Media and Persia, while the goat with a single horn represents the king of Greece. Gabriel goes on to describe how the king of Greece will rise to power and conquer the Persian Empire. This encounter with Gabriel highlights his role as God's messenger, tasked with delivering important messages to his people. Gabriel's appearance to Daniel underlines the importance of the vision and its significance for the future of the Israelites, demonstrating that Gabriel is a wonderful and majestic creature. Throughout the Bible, Gabriel is associated with delivering divine messages to God's people, setting the tone for his significant role in the spiritual realm. Gabriel makes another significant appearance in the book of Daniel, specifically in chapter 9, in response to a prayer made by Daniel. During this encounter, Gabriel provided Daniel with insights and understanding, also referring to the Anointed One, a term used for the Messiah. Then in the New Testament in the book of Luke, Gabriel visits Mary to announce that she has been chosen by God to bear his Son, Jesus Christ, demonstrating that God is always active in our lives, sometimes sending his messengers to convey important messages. History teaches us that we should be open and receptive to God's messages, even if they challenge our understanding or expectations. God cares for his people and is attentive to us, not being a distant God, but one who is concerned and involved in the lives of his people. Gabriel, by referring to Daniel, Zechariah, and Mary by name, shows us that God knows each of us intimately. Reflecting on Gabriel's appearances, we are reminded of God's closeness and his direct intervention in our lives, bringing messages of hope, guidance, and revelation of his divine plans. May we welcome these stories as reminders of God's constant love and care for us, inspiring us to live with faith and openness to the divine. What you need to know is that he knows where you are in life. Never forget that, and Gabriel's ministry reveals this wonderful truth to us. In Daniel 10:13, the archangel Michael is described as one of the chief princes. This phrase suggests that if Michael is one of the chief princes, there are other chief princes about whom the Bible has remained silent. It's a plausible conclusion. Unlike other angels whose identities are hidden in the Old and New Testament, Michael's name is mentioned almost everywhere he appears in the Bible. The book of Revelation depicts Michael as a warrior angel. He led the war against Satan and his angels in heaven and won the battle against them. Revelation 12:7 and 9 says, "And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. The dragon and his angels fought back, but they were defeated, and there was no longer any place for them in heaven. And the great dragon was thrown down, that ancient serpent who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him." Whenever Michael is mentioned in the Bible, he is fighting, battling, or facing off against evil spirits and principalities. He defends the things of God and God's people. This is seen very importantly in the book of Daniel. In the books of the Bible, both Michael and Gabriel are mentioned, but only in Daniel are both cited. Daniel 10:7-13 describes a deep vision that Daniel had, where he was the only one to see it, while those with him did not see, but were overcome with great fear and hid themselves. Daniel was left alone and saw this great vision, losing all his strength. But then a hand touched him, lifting him up. The angel said to him, "O Daniel, man greatly loved, understand the words that I speak to you and stand upright. For now I have been sent to you." And when he had spoken this word, Daniel, trembling, stood up. The angel continued, explaining that from the first day that Daniel set his heart to understand and humble himself before God, his prayers were heard. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood him for 21 days, until Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help him. This reveals that angels have different ranks and roles. The passage suggests that there are powerful spiritual beings representing nations, like the prince of the kingdom of Persia, indicating that there are spiritual beings who have authority or dominion, which aligns with the New Testament idea that angelic ranks are organized and have a hierarchy. This confrontation between spiritual beings reveals that our world is influenced by spiritual battles that occur in dimensions we do not see. Michael, in particular, has a direct connection to the nation of Israel and will play a prominent role in the end times, protecting Israel during the Great Tribulation. He is more than a warrior. He has the special task of protecting Israel, proving to be a leader among the angels, leading them in battles against evil. Despite Michael's grandeur and heroism, it's crucial to remember that he is a creation of God, a created being, and should not be worshipped. He is an example of the power and organization of the spiritual realm, but like all creatures, he serves a purpose determined by God. This narrative gives us a glimpse into the complexities of the spiritual world and the ongoing battles that have direct implications on our physical world and human history. Understanding the role of angels like Michael and Gabriel helps us appreciate the depth of divine intervention in human history and the constant struggle between good and evil. He is not equal to God, therefore he should not be worshipped. Whenever people attempt to bow down and worship angels in the Bible, they are prohibited by them. Angels are serving spirits. Sometimes we don't even realize what God is doing for us. In Psalm 91, 1-9, it is said that whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. We declare about the Lord that He is our refuge and our fortress, our God in whom we trust. He will surely deliver us from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover us with His feathers, and under His wings we will find refuge. His faithfulness will be our protective shield. We will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday. 1,000 may fall at our side, 10,000 at our right hand, but it will not come near us. With our eyes only, we will observe and see the punishment of the wicked, for we have made the Lord our refuge, the Most High, our dwelling place. As believers, we know that God is always with us, protecting us and guiding us through life's challenges, but sometimes we don't even realize what God is doing for us. We might be going through a tough situation or facing a dangerous circumstance and still come out unscathed without realizing that it was God who protected us. Today I want to talk to you about God's protection. The Bible tells us that God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. When we trust in Him, we can be sure that He will protect us and keep us safe from all harm. Psalm 91, 11-12 assures us that He will command His angels concerning us to guard us in all our ways. They will lift us up in their hands so that we will not strike our foot against a stone. But sometimes we don't even realize that God is protecting us. It could be that we're driving and don't realize that we narrowly avoided a serious accident, or maybe we're coming home from work without realizing that we were protected from a potential attack. We might be going through a tough situation without realizing that God was working behind the scenes to protect us and guide us. That's why it's important to trust in God's protection even when we don't see it. We might not understand why certain things happen or why we go through certain trials, but we can be confident that God is always working for our good, even when we don't realize it. You and I know that God has angels, and the Bible tells us that He assigns these angels the task of taking care of us. There are angels charged with protecting us in all our ways, wherever we're traveling. God's angels are watching over us. Whether we're on our way to work, coming back home, heading to the store, or anywhere else, there's at least one angel taking care of you. To this world, you might not matter. To this world, you might be irrelevant. To this world, you might just be another number or another body. But to God, you matter enough for Him to assign His angels to look after you. God has given you a mission to take care of you. You matter. You matter a lot to God. Sometimes we don't even realize what God is doing for us. In Christianity, angels play a significant role in our lives and families, as well as in all areas of our existence. As you listen to me now, it's quite possible that at least one angel is present in your home. Isn't that wonderful? Psalm 91, 11-12 reminds us that God will command His angels concerning us to guard us in all our ways. They will lift us up in their hands so that we will not strike our foot against a stone. Often we underestimate the angels mentioned in this part of the Bible and don't think about the work they do to keep us safe. We should truly thank God for sending angels to protect us. The president has the Secret Service protecting him, the best humans taking care of him. But you, on the other hand, have secret angels looking out for you, watching your back. There are times when God sent angels for special missions. God sent angels to Lot, Abraham's nephew, who parted ways and went to Sodom and Gomorrah. The story I'm going to tell today speaks about the strength of faith and divine protection, elements that have spanned centuries and remain relevant today. Our journey begins in the ancient city of Sodom, a place marked by wickedness to such an extent that God decided to intervene in a drastic way. But even in this scenario of judgment, mercy was present through the figure of Lot and his family. One night, two angels visited Sodom and found Lot sitting at the city gate. Upon seeing them, Lot welcomed them with great respect and hospitality, unaware of how crucial this encounter would be. These heavenly messengers had a mission: to lead Lot and his family out of the city before its destruction. The biblical narrative, specifically in Genesis 19, reveals the urgency and divine mercy in saving Lot and his family from the impending catastrophe. This account makes us reflect on how often we are protected from dangers without even realizing it. Just as the angels guided Lot, it is believed that there are angels around us, protecting us and interceding on our behalf. In everyday life, we may not see angels ascending and descending on a heavenly ladder like Jacob did, but the message is clear. We are under the constant watch of divine forces. Jesus in Matthew 18:10 reminds us of the importance of not underestimating the smallest among us, for their angels have direct access to the presence of God. This reinforces the idea that each of us has special protection, a guard that accompanies us and keeps us from all evil. The truth is, we often go through difficulties and challenges without realizing the extent of divine protection over our lives. In Isaiah 43:2, there's a powerful promise that assures us, even when passing through deep waters or fire, we will not be consumed or drowned. God is with us at every moment, protecting us and guiding us through every obstacle. Romans 8:28 reiterates this promise, assuring us that God works in all circumstances for the good of those who love Him. This is a comforting truth, especially in times when we feel alone or challenged by life's adversities. When the weight of the world seems too heavy to bear, and the darkness of uncertainty clouds our vision, it's essential to remember that we are not alone. The presence of the Lord is with you, guarding and strengthening you. His presence is not just a fleeting comfort but a steadfast reality, an anchor for our souls in the stormiest of seas. God invites us to seek refuge and strength in Him, to pour our hearts out in His presence. This invitation is a testament to His deep, unwavering love for us. As taught in 1 Peter 5:7, cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. These words are not just a command but a loving assurance that God is always attentive to our needs. He understands our fears, our pains, and our struggles. He is there, ready to shoulder our burdens and to provide us with the strength we need to persevere. Therefore, I encourage you to draw near to God, to seek His presence sincerely. Find a quiet place, away from the noise and distractions of daily life, and talk with Him. In that sacred solitude, open your heart. Share your worries and your dreams, your hopes and your fears. Speak to Him as you would to a trusted friend, knowing that He is always ready to listen, to comfort, and to strengthen you. In His presence, we can find peace, a peace that transcends all understanding. This peace is not the absence of trouble but the assurance that, despite our circumstances, we are held in the loving arms of our Creator. He comforts us in our sorrow, fills us with hope in our despair, and gives us the courage to face whatever comes our way. In those moments of communion with God, we can feel His love surrounding us, His power uplifting us, and His grace guiding us. No matter what we face, we are not alone. God, with His infinite love and constant protection, is always with us. His promises are true, and His presence is a continual source of comfort and strength. So, when life's trials seem overwhelming, remember to turn to Him. In His presence, you will find the reassurance that you are cherished, protected, and never abandoned. With God by our side, we can face any challenge, knowing that His love and support are unfailing.